Hello, everybody. My name is Daren Hudson. I'm one of the AVPs, Associate Vice Presidents for AMA, Academy of Model Aeronautics for New England, District 1. I'm here at the Darrell Wagner Field, and this is a home of the Southern New Hampshire RC Club, and they've been here for roughly 20 years. And this was a very casual glider fun fly today. It's winding down. It was a nice day, beautiful day, and this is typically what happens at some of our more secluded clubs in New England. They're located off the roads. This site is a beautiful site, and sometimes it ends up in the day with modelers just hanging around and talking. And I've had the pleasure to be talking with Cody Wojcik, the president of the club, his dad Ted Wojcik, an AVP, longtime modeler, John Hayes, secretary of the club, and we've been here discussing just modeling in general and the progression of clubs. We've been talking about outreach, and I'm just going to let Cody and John give me a little tour of the club. They've got some really neat features here, and the club's been around for 40 since the late 60s, so it's gone through quite a bit, and they're still surviving quite a bit. Yeah. So all right, so Cody, why don't you start the tour here?
Sure. So this runway here is was kind of the first runway when we first started flying here, and if you go far enough that way, there's some houses, and we had some noise complaints. So now this runway is for electric and glider aircraft only. If you come down this way a little ways, we also kind of have a patch down here, which is for nominally helicopters. Every now and again you'll see a foamy or something flying down there, but helicopters in that area. And then we can kind of stroll up this way. You can see we have the regular fence and starting stands and everything, and another shelter for internal combustion. So if you're flying a gas or a glow airplane, it's only on this runway. Electric aircraft can be flown everywhere. And we also have, on top of our shed here, you can see we've got two sets of 3 big solar panels. And then if you look at these benches here,
I'm gonna go take a look at this solar setup. They've got quite an elaborate solar setup. And would you tell me what's the amperage you're getting out of this?
So the panels are each 135 watts. So we've got roughly 800 watts total, and that's just from the panels. We also have 6 big deep cell batteries in there. This bench is for 24 volts. This bench is for 12 volts. John did an excellent job on the wiring and setup of this.
This is your current intake from the
panels? This is the voltage at this rail.
At the rail, okay.
And then this is the voltage on this rail, and you can see I don't know, it's just off a little bit on the current. But if you start pulling a lot of current there, you'll see it.
Great. And tell me just a touch about Darrell. Darrell was...
Yeah. So I mean, this is Wagner Field. John, maybe you want to give a little bit of history on.
Darrell's a legend. He's been with the club, I think, since it began, and he was instrumental in getting this field from the town. And he and Harry Peters, they did the work to make these fields what they are. And everybody knew Darrell.
Yeah.
And Darrell had Northeast Aerodynamics. They got kitted.
Sport airs, they were all coming from him.
And those airplanes are still flying around throughout New England, and everywhere else. That's true. Now you mentioned this field is located on a town landfill, right?
Yeah.
So it's gated. I know when I came in, I had a coded gate, so we're away from the public roads, and we have you guys have a relationship here with the town. That's been around for a long time, so it shows the importance of community relationships, and to do that. And on that note, this also lies under the Nashua Class D airspace, and John just informed me they have glider operations here, and the club was successful in attaining a letter of agreement with Nashua Tower, and they have a 1,000-foot radius up to 1,000 feet altitude, which is awesome. And again, showing the importance of reaching out to the community, reaching out to the FAA, having a good relationship, a working relationship with them.
So we have all the time we have 1,000 feet in any direction, and today, because it's a special occasion for a glider contest, we're able to get a temporary allowance to go up to 1,500 feet.
And how do they is that a call for you guys with the LOA? That's all dictated in the LOA, and the LOA was also negotiated through some help, I understand, from Tyler Dobbs at AMA Government Affairs. This is what he does. Myself, I work with Tyler on safety boards, and that's exactly what we're trying to encourage clubs to do. Putting the head in the sand is not the way to work through this very tumultuous time that we're in. What you guys have done is stellar, and we want other clubs to do that.
The FAA was incredibly helpful.
Yeah, they were
shy
great.
away from them because they really can help a lot.
And the general rule we found is they know we're here. They want to check off the box as well, and they know we're out here and we're not a threat, and they just want to do what they need to do. And they don't want to get phone calls every day. Believe me, they're busy enough.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about outreach and training and how some clubs are restricted, some clubs are limited, and that's all based on those relationships with landowners, landlords, towns, cities. Those restrictions often control how much access we can get from the public. So you guys want to touch on that as far as, you don't have a specific training date for those reasons?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of clubs around here that have, Tuesdays and Thursday nights are training nights or whatever, and a new guy with a trainer who has never flown before can show up and learn how to fly, and that's great, and we're really happy that those clubs are there. But what I found was, for the people who've kind of progressed past that point where you've soloed, there's not a lot of it's harder and harder to find areas that really kind of encourage you to take that next step in the hobby. And the people who have that level of experience are usually the ones that are more likely to give back, in my experience, right? Like the guy doing the mowing at the field is not the guy who's it's his first week at the field, right? So we want this club to be rewarding and a great place to fly if you have a little bit more experience. We're not going to push anybody away who doesn't know how to fly, but we just don't have regular training nights. A new person, it would be up to them to pull myself or John or another member aside and be like, hey, I want to join this club and teach me to fly. And yeah, sure, you're probably going to get that, but we don't encourage. We don't provide as much training service as other clubs. We want to encourage and reward people who are already in the hobby and want to kind of take it to the next level.
So somewhat restricting, but always welcoming.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole key with all of this. That's why we have over 100 clubs in District 1 in New England. We've got 7,000 members attached to clubs. They all have a little different niche in the hobby, and I'm glad to say that we have a bunch of clubs with different needs being met. And we talked about the outreach team, and the concept of that is to have satellite groups of members throughout the district to come in and help with those situations where a club might not have a specific training program and they need a few guys to help new people, or they're having an event like this or any kind of event, and the team can come in to help supplement the volunteerism. So hey, I want to thank you guys very much. Thanks for the invite out here. I'm going to try and get 1 or 2 more flights in before we sign off, and I want to thank Southern New Hampshire RCC and Jim Hayes and John Hayes, and Cody Wojcik, and the other members that were here today, and signing off from Darrell Wagner Field out here in Hudson, New Hampshire.